I never thought I'd be the guy writing one of these stories, but here I am, sitting in my apartment in New York City, telling the world how my fiancée, the woman I thought I'd spend forever with, walked out of my life for a man with more zeros in his bank account. My name's Ethan. I'm 29, and until a year ago, I was engaged to a woman named Rachel. Smart, stunning, ambitious, the kind of person who made every room brighter when she walked in. We met during college at NYU, both struggling kids with big dreams and small wallets. I worked nights at a bar, she worked part-time at a boutique, and somehow we made it work. We talked about marriage, travel, kids, and building something real from scratch. But as time passed, I noticed a change. After college, I got a job as a financial analyst at a mid-tier firm, working hard to climb my way up. Rachel landed a marketing gig, but soon started wanting more. Fancy dinners, expensive clothes, designer bags. I tried to keep up, but my paycheck couldn't stretch that far. I remember the night it all started to crumble. We were out with her friends at some rooftop bar downtown, everyone dressed like they just walked out of a Vogue ad, and Rachel seemed distant. Then she introduced me to someone, Daniel, a sleek-looking guy in his 30s, dripping with confidence, gold watch, and a smirk that screamed money. He was some tech startup investor, the kind of man who ordered champagne without checking the price. I shook his hand, and he gave me that look, the one that silently tells you you're not in his league. Over the next few weeks, Rachel kept mentioning Daniel, calling him just a friend, talking about how successful and driven he was. My gut told me something was off, but I didn't want to believe it. Then one evening I came home to find her sitting on the couch, suitcase by her side. I'll never forget her words. "Ethan, I can't do this anymore. You're amazing, but I need stability. I need more out of life." She didn't even say I'm sorry. She just walked away, leaving behind the ring I spent 6 months saving for. I broke down that night. Everything I'd built, plans, love, future, gone. But heartbreak has a strange way of turning pain into fuel. I threw myself into work, signed up for late-night finance courses, learned everything about investing, and started building something of my own. Meanwhile, I heard through mutual friends that Rachel was living the dream. Private jets, luxury vacations, high society parties with Daniel. I tried to move on, but her Instagram posts hit like daggers. Perfect smiles, expensive champagne, captions about finding real happiness. It felt like she'd replaced me with a better version of my ambition. But life, as it turns out, doesn't run on captions. 6 months later, Daniel's startup made headlines, not for success, but for a major fraud investigation. Millions lost, investors furious. Rachel's dream life began to crack. And while her world crumbled, mine was slowly rising. I had launched a small financial consulting business with 2 friends, helping startups manage their budgets, and by some miracle, and a lot of sleepless nights, it took off. We landed a few high-profile clients, got featured in a business magazine, and within a year, I was making more than I ever had. The irony didn't escape me. Rachel had left me for stability, and now I was the one who had it. One afternoon, I was grabbing coffee in Midtown when I saw her sitting by the window. She looked different, still beautiful, but tired, worn down. She noticed me too, her eyes widening in shock. I could have ignored her, walked away, but a part of me wanted her to see what she lost. So I walked in, calm and confident, ordered my drink, and gave her a polite smile. "Ethan," she said softly, "wow, it's been a while." I smiled back. "Yeah, it has. Have you been?" Her lips trembled slightly. "Things have been complicated." I nodded, pretending not to know the headlines. "I heard about Daniel's company. That must have been rough." She looked down, embarrassed. "He's gone. Disappeared when everything fell apart. I've been trying to start over."
I leaned back and said the words that tasted like justice. "You always wanted stability, right? I hope you find it." She blinked hard, holding back tears, and I stood up to leave. That moment wasn't about revenge or cruelty. It was closure, but something told me that wasn't the end of it. Because a few weeks later, she texted me, "Ethan, can we talk?" I stared at the message, feeling the old ache creep back. But this time, I wasn't the same man she left behind. I had changed. I had leveled up. And if she thought she could just walk back into my life, she had no idea what she was about to face.
When Rachel's text popped up on my phone that night, I just stared at it for a long minute, debating whether to reply. "Can we talk?" It was short, cautious, and so unlike the confident woman who once told me she needed more. My first instinct was to ignore it, but curiosity won. I typed back, "Sure. Coffee tomorrow?" We met at the same cafe where we first ran into each other weeks ago, almost poetic in its irony. When she walked in, I could see that her shine had faded. The designer bags were gone, her outfit simple, her eyes carrying the weight of every wrong choice she'd made. "Thanks for meeting me," she said softly. "I wasn't sure you'd say yes." I sipped my coffee. I almost didn't. She gave a small, broken smile. "I deserve that." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said it, the apology I had waited months to hear. "Ethan, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I thought I wanted a better future, but all I wanted was something real, like what we had. I'm sorry for everything." Her voice cracked on that last word. I wanted to believe her, but I also remember the image of her walking away, suitcase in hand, without a second glance. "People make choices, Rachel," I said calmly, "but some choices can't be undone." She reached for my hand, but I pulled it away. "I'm not asking for you to take me back," she said quickly. "I just want a chance to make things right." That line hung in the air, and even though part of me screamed to walk away, another part, the one still wounded, wanted to see what she really meant. So I agreed to meet again. Over the next few weeks, we met a few times. She told me about Daniel's downfall, the lavish lifestyle, the cheating, the bankruptcy, the humiliation. He had used her as decoration for his success and then discarded her the moment things went south. She'd lost her job, her apartment, her so-called friends. She was living with her cousin now, struggling to rebuild her life. Listening to her was bittersweet. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. Her eyes already carried the punishment. But my revenge wasn't going to be petty. I wanted something poetic, something that would make her truly understand what she threw away. Around that time, my company had just landed a big project with a luxury marketing agency. Ironically, the same one Rachel used to dream of working for. When the agency reached out for freelance consultants, I made a quiet call to a friend on their team and suggested Rachel. I wasn't doing it out of kindness. I was setting the stage. She got the call, got the job, and thanked me with watery eyes, saying, "You didn't have to do that." I just smiled, considered it a fresh start. What she didn't know was that the agency was about to pitch a major campaign to one of my firm's clients, and I'd be sitting in the meeting as the financial strategist. When the day came, she walked into the boardroom and froze. The look on her face when she saw me at the head of the table, confident, respected, in control, was priceless. The tables had turned completely. I welcomed her professionally, no trace of bitterness in my voice, and continued the meeting. Every word I spoke, every decision I made, reminded her of the man she underestimated. After the meeting, she cut up to me in the hallway. "You really made it," she said, almost in disbelief. I shrugged. "Guess stability finds you when you stop chasing shortcuts." She nodded, silent, knowing that every success of mine was a mirror to her regret. That night, she texted again, longer this time. "I can't stop thinking about what I lost. You were the only one who truly cared for me. I don't expect forgiveness, but if I could turn back time, I would." I stared at the message, feeling a strange mix of triumph and sorrow. I had wanted her to feel what I felt, and now she did. But revenge, I realized, doesn't always taste as sweet as you imagine. Still, I wasn't done. A few days later, I invited her to a charity gala my firm was sponsoring. She looked surprised, but said yes. That night, she showed up in a simple black dress, elegant yet modest, clearly trying to fit into a world she once thought I couldn't belong to. As I moved through the crowd, confident, admired, surrounded by people who respected me, I could feel her watching me with that same longing she once reserved for someone else. And when the photographer asked us for a picture, I smiled for the camera, while she forced one through the ache of realization. Later, as we stood by the balcony overlooking the city, she whispered, "You've really changed, Ethan." I turned to her and said, "No, Rachel. I just became the man you didn't believe I could be." Her eyes filled again, but I walked away before she could speak. That night, I didn't feel angry or proud. I just felt free. But fate wasn't finished weaving its final twist yet, because 2 weeks later, I got a call that would flip everything once more. Rachel was in trouble, and this time, she wasn't running away.
The call came on a rainy Thursday evening, just as I was leaving my office. The number wasn't saved, but something in me said to answer. "Ethan?" The voice was faint, shaky. It was Rachel. I didn't know who else to call. "Please, I need help." For a second, I just stood there, the sound of traffic echoing through the phone. My instinct said hang up, but my heart, the one that once loved her beyond reason, wouldn't let me. "What happened?" I asked, my tone calm but distant. Between muffled sobs, she explained that she had been evicted from her cousin's place after a fight. Her bank account was frozen because of some connection to Daniel's fraud case, and she had nowhere to go. I didn't say anything for a long moment. Finally, I said, "Text me your location." I told myself I was doing it out of decency, not emotion, but deep down, I knew part of me wanted to see her broken facade shatter completely. I found her sitting outside a small diner in Queens, clutching a half-empty cup of coffee, drenched in rain. She looked nothing like the woman who once demanded luxury. Her makeup was gone, her hair messy, her eyes hollow. When she saw me, she stood, trembling. "Ethan, I'm sorry, I didn't know who else—" I stopped her. "Get in the car." The ride was silent, except for the sound of rain and the hum of the engine. I dropped her off at a small hotel I often booked for business guests and paid for 2 nights. She tried to refuse, but I told her quietly, "It's not charity, Rachel, just a roof." I turned to leave, but she caught my sleeve. "Please, can we talk tomorrow?" I didn't answer, just nodded and walked away. That night I couldn't sleep. Every image of her laughing with Daniel, every word she'd said when she left me came rushing back. But so did the nights we spent planning a life together, the late-night takeouts, the way she'd once looked at me like I was her whole world. The next morning I met her at the hotel cafe. She looked more composed, but still fragile. "I don't deserve any of this," she said softly. "You're right, you don't. But maybe you can earn it back, somehow." She looked confused. "What do you mean?" I leaned forward. "I'm offering you a job. My firm needs a part-time assistant for admin work. It's not glamorous, but it's honest." Her eyes widened. "You'd really do that for me?" I nodded. "I'm giving you a chance, not forgiveness." She accepted immediately. Over the next few weeks, Rachel worked quietly in the office, always polite, always reserved. My team knew nothing of our past. They only saw a woman trying to rebuild her life. I watched her from a distance, not out of affection, but out of curiosity. Gone was the arrogance, the entitlement. She was humble, punctual, hard-working. I could tell life had taught her more than I ever could. Sometimes she'd bring coffee for everyone. Other times she'd stay late to finish tasks no one asked her to do. And yet, there were nights when I'd catch her sitting alone, staring blankly at her computer screen, lost in thought. One evening, as we were closing up, she approached me. "Ethan, I don't know how to thank you. You could have turned your back on me, but you didn't. I'll never forget that." I looked at her, searching for the truth behind her words. "You already thanked me. By working hard." She smiled faintly, then added, "I still think about us, about what I threw away. I wish I could undo it." I sighed. Some things break too completely to be fixed, Rachel. You can rebuild, but not where the cracks run deepest. Her eyes glistened. I know, I just want you to know that you were the best thing that ever happened to me. I didn't respond. I just turned off the lights and walked out, leaving her standing there in the dim glow of the office. For the first time, I realized my revenge wasn't about making her hurt. It was about watching her grow from the wreckage she created. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. But fate wasn't done testing her, or me. 2 weeks later, my company got invited to a networking event for new investors. And to my surprise, Rachel volunteered to help with the coordination. The event was hosted in a luxury hotel ballroom, ironically one Daniel used to frequent. Halfway through the evening, I noticed Rachel standing frozen near the entrance. When I turned, I saw why. Daniel was there, looking smug as ever, his arm around a new woman, laughing like nothing had happened. Rachel's face went pale. I walked over and said quietly, "You don't have to stay," but she shook her head. "No, I'm done running." And then, in one of the boldest moves I'd ever seen, she walked straight up to him, calm and composed. "Hi, Daniel," she said evenly. He looked at her, surprised, then smirked. "Rachel, you look, different." She smiled faintly. "So do you. Broke suits you." Everyone nearby heard it. His smirk faltered, and for the first time, he looked small. When she turned and walked away, head high, I felt something shift inside me. Maybe this was her final redemption. When the night ended, she came up to me and said, "I think I can finally move on." And for the first time, I believed her. But destiny had one last twist waiting. A test that would show if forgiveness was truly possible, or if some scars never fade.
2 months after that night at the gala, life had settled into something almost peaceful. Rachel had rebuilt herself from the ground up, earning the quiet respect of my team and even a small promotion. I had stopped looking at her through the lens of anger. She had become just another person trying to find her way back. Then one afternoon, my phone buzzed with a message from her. "Can we meet tonight? There's something important I need to tell you." We met at a small Italian restaurant downtown, one we used to visit when times were simpler. She looked nervous, but there was a calmness in her that hadn't been there before. "Ethan," she began softly, "I've been offered a position at another firm, marketing executive. It's a big opportunity, and it's in Chicago." For a moment, I said nothing. "That's great, Rachel," I finally replied. "You earned it." She smiled faintly. "I wouldn't have if you hadn't given me a second chance." She paused, then looked me straight in the eyes. "Before I leave, I want to say something. I know I hurt you in ways I can't undo. I was blinded by greed and insecurity, and I'll carry that guilt forever. But you," she swallowed hard, "you showed me what real strength looks like. You didn't destroy me, even when you could have. You helped me rebuild. I don't expect forgiveness, but I hope someday you'll think of me without hate." I looked at her, remembering every version of her I'd ever known. The girl who held my hand in a tiny dorm room, the woman who left me for luxury, and the broken soul who came back to find herself again. "Rachel," I said quietly, "I stopped hating you a long time ago. But forgiveness doesn't mean going back. It means letting go." She nodded, a single tear slipping down her cheek, but she smiled through it. "Then I guess this is goodbye." We finished dinner with quiet laughter, talking about old times as if closing the final chapter of a book we both knew couldn't continue. When we parted outside, she hugged me, long, tight, and trembling. "Thank you," she whispered, and then she walked away into the city lights, disappearing into the crowd like a ghost fading into the past. For a long while, I stood there, watching her go, feeling an unexpected sense of peace. She was gone, not in anger, not in pain, but in closure. A few weeks passed, and I got busy expanding my company.
We opened a new branch in Boston, and things were finally aligning. Then one morning, a letter arrived at my office. It was from Rachel. Inside was a simple note and a small photo of us from college days. The note read, "Thank you for giving me back my humanity. I've learned that love built on truth is worth more than any riches. I wish you everything you once wished for me. Rachel." I stared at that note for a long time before tucking it into my drawer. I didn't cry, I didn't smile, I just felt whole. Months went by, and one day, while attending a conference in Chicago, I saw her again. She was standing on a stage speaking confidently about business ethics and integrity. Her company had made her head of strategy, and she was thriving. After her talk, she spotted me in the audience, her eyes lighting up in quiet recognition. We didn't speak, but we exchanged a look that said everything: gratitude, peace, and closure. That was the last time I saw her in person. But a year later, when my company partnered with hers on a project, I received an email from her. "Proud of how far you've come, Ethan. Guess we both made it after all." I replied, "We did, in our own ways." And that was it. No drama, no rekindled romance, no bitterness. Just two people who had walked through fire and learned who they were. Looking back, I realized that revenge had never been about hurting her. It was about rising so high that her betrayal couldn't touch me anymore. I didn't need to make her regret it. I needed to show her that I could become everything she thought I wasn't. And when she finally saw that man standing before her, it was enough.